Okay, welcome to the second video on layout in InDesign for Yearbook. Before we get started, I want to show you how to save your page so that if you can't get this all done in one day, you can always come back to your page and you'll need to save it at the end anyway. So you go to File, Save As, and then if you're not already in the layout folder, you can find it again by going to Computer, the S drive, Loinorix, Yearbook, Layout, and then you'll see this folder called Practice Layouts. You want to go in there and then rename your file so that it's your last name. So I would rename mine English and then Practice Layout, and I would click Save right here to save it. Okay. So once your layout's saved, you can continue working on it. And the next thing you'll need to know how to do is to place photos and text. So to place a photo, you go to File and then Place. And that will open up the folder where you last were. Again, if you need to get to it, you go to Computer, to the S drive, Yearbook, all of that. But once you're in here, you'll need to go to just the regular Yearbook folder, so you can go up or back and go to Photos. And you'll see that I made a folder called Layout Practice Photos. You're going to go in there. And for this practice layout, you can choose either to make a practice layout with a men's soccer pictures or with prom pictures, whichever one you like better. So I'm just going to go into the men's soccer pictures. And there's many pictures to choose from. But what I want to figure out first is what my dominant photo is going to be. So I'm probably going to want to view these as large icons or extra large icons so I can see a little bit better what they look like. And for my dominant photo, I want to choose a photo that is the best photo that I have that shows some good action. It's going to draw the reader's eye onto the page. So based on the ones I have in this folder, I'm going to go with this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to double click on it, and you'll see that a little like mini version of the picture pops up. That just means it's ready to place. If you click anywhere on the page, it'll place. And my recommendation is that you place it off to the side here, because if you already have other things on the page, you might accidentally place it inside of something else. For instance, if I placed it into this, if I clicked on top of this box here, oh, actually that didn't work. Just kidding. But anyway, I placed it off to the side there. And this is my whole photo. So I've got two different spaces that I might use for my dominant photo. I might use this space here, and I might use this space here. And if I move the photo over to the space, it's not going to fit exactly where I want it to, because, you know, photos in their original shape aren't always exactly what we want. You'll notice, for one, it doesn't fill the whole space, and two, his shoes are kind of getting cut off here. So I have a couple different options. I can either move it to a smaller space, like over here, and we see that it fits a little bit better. It's at least filling the space, but it's not all the way there. If I want it to fill this space exactly, what I can do is I can go from the corner and scale it. Another option is to crop it. Okay? This is pretty important, so please listen carefully so you don't do this wrong. To scale a photo, which means to take it and keep it in its original dimensions but change the size, you need to hold both Control and Shift on your keyboard. Okay, both Control and Shift, and then you go from the corner and it will scale exactly to the same dimensions. And so if I want it to fit into my eye line there, I would scale it to there. Okay, now if I zoom in, Control plus, you'll notice that I still have a little bit hanging over my horizontal eye line, and this is where I can now crop this photo. All right, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to, I'm not holding any buttons, I'm just using my mouse, and I'm going to drag this up. What I did was I just cropped the bottom of that photo off, and that's nice because you can now fit photos to size and things like that. And if I ever want that back, I can just drag it back down and it still exists there. It's not like cutting the photo, it's just hiding part of it for the time being. You can do that on the other side as well. Okay. If I do that and I want to go back, because I realize I didn't actually want to crop that, a really good shortcut on your keyboard is Control Z. That is undo. Okay. You can also go into Edit and Undo, but Control Z will undo, and then Shift Control Z will redo. to redo the action that I just undid. So I'm going to Control Z that. Okay, so that's where that's how I'd get it to fit that space if I wanted that to be where I wanted my dominant photo. But now that I've put it there, I realize this creates a really narrow margin in between my eye line and here. So I don't think I want to put it there because otherwise I don't know what I would put in that space. So I have two options. One, I could move my eye line over so I have more room here. Or two, I could just move the placement of my dominant photo. That's easier for now, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move it back to the space I originally planned, and I'm going to scale it to fit into this space. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift, and I'm going to scale all the way to that vertical eye line. Okay, so now it's there. And what I don't ever want to do is cut people off by their feet, but I do have a little bit of extra space here. So what I could do is cut it off at the top, move it up a little bit, and now I'm almost there. What I notice is his feet end about there. I'm going to move my horizontal eye line down so that it fits my dominant photo. So to select both at the same time, click off to the side here. You can drag a box until it's around both of those, and that selects both of them. They're selected now, they're blue, and I can either drag them down with my mouse, or I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move them as well, up and down. If I hold Shift while I move up and down, it moves in larger chunks. And I'm going to go just to under his feet, and we'll do the same over here to move our new eye line down to match our original one. There we go, perfect. And then I'm going to crop this so that it fits the eye line. So now I've got my dominant photo in place. Okay. To place additional photos, I go to File, Place, and I can grab more photos that I might want. So next I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to just click off to the side, and I'm going to find a place for that. I'm going to hold Control and Shift to make it smaller because remember, we don't want any photos to be competing with the size of our dominant photo. It is a little weird that I have this arm here. I might crop it. I do want to keep the ball in the frame, so I'm going to crop it just a little bit, and I'm going to put it next to my eye line there. And just so that it's easier, I'm going to make it fit into my grid perfectly, so we can put it right there for now. I'm going to place another photo. Let's see if we have any that we can make vertical, because it's nice to have a variety of photos. And this is a good hint for photographers, is to turn your camera to the side sometimes so that we can get a variety of photos. So this one, even though it's not a vertical photo, the action is vertical, so I'm going to double click that one. I'm going to place it off to the side, and here's what I was talking about earlier. If I place it on top of this photo, sometimes it can go inside of the photo by accident. Now I'm going to crop it so all I see is maybe him and this guy here. I don't need all this extra. So I'm going to drag it like that, and then I'm going to bring it over to my eye line, and I'm going to scale it to fit to my vertical, and it can fit there. I'm going to zoom in, make sure it fits to my vertical or my horizontal eye line perfectly. Okay? And this isn't the right margin, but I'll fix that later. But now that I've put that like that, I've noticed, you know, he's kind of small and I've got a lot of space. So maybe I want to make this photo fit in the same space, but make him a little bit bigger inside. There's a way to do that, and that's to grab this white arrow over here and to click or just hover inside. You'll see there's now this brown box around it, and that shows me where the original photo is. So I'm going to click there, and I get these little points here. I'm going to go to the corner. I'm going to hold Control and Shift again, and I'm going to stretch it out. And now what it's doing is it's making the photo inside of the frame we created bigger, so that he's a little bit bigger inside of my frame, and I don't have to continue to resize my frame. Okay, so I'm going to make him bigger, and then I want to move him over a little bit, so you can drag him, drag inside the photo. But probably the easier thing I find is to use the arrow keys on my keyboard instead of dragging, just because it gets me a little more exact. And since I want to keep that guy in white in the frame as well, I'm going to just keep moving around and scaling the photo until it fits in my frame exactly how I want it. And there we go. Okay, So I would probably continue placing more pictures, one here maybe, and maybe a few underneath the dominant, just making sure that I don't have any faces caught in my gutter here until I'm ready. So that is placing photos, and in the next video I'm going to talk about placing text.